Quieter conditions overall is what we're expecting as we'll move forward in time. And you notice up in the Huntsville area, our northern areas, there was just a little bit of downpours in the 10 o'clock time frame. So if you're in the northern parts of the viewing area, that might be possible. But I really think for the majority of us, we're done with rain for today. And then we kind of wait and see what develops tomorrow. At this point, it does look like it would be an afternoon sort of batch of rain if we see some tomorrow, as we're looking at those scattered downpours possible, and you could just sort of see those popping up a little bit on the Fox Red Storm Seeker radar futurecast. So for the next several days, we're still talking about some rain. Obviously, today was the heaviest of that rain, but we'll have some scattered showers and storms tomorrow. Isolated chances again for Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. I don't think it will be anything that's too strong, but we're definitely going to keep some of that rain in the forecast. And you can see as we move through our animation here of the next 5 days worth of rainfall, this does not include what has already fallen today. This is from this point moving forward until 10 p.m. on Saturday. We'll look for, more in the 1 to 2 inch range instead of those higher numbers that we've been seeing. So in the 7-day forecast, probably about a 40% chance of rain that we'll see for the rest of today. We'll leave those rain chances at about 30 for tomorrow and Friday. And then we sort of get a little bit more stabilized as we head into the weekend. We'll look for a 20% chance of rain, and we'll look for those temperatures to kind of creep back into the 90-degree range. So, yeah, I think most of the excitement, you kind of said pretty well what happens there. We didn't have any flash flood warnings. Mm-hmm. We didn't have any severe weather. It was certainly not pleasant to drive in this morning, right, or order your coffee in this morning.
Okay, we don't have to say it like that, but yes, that is
no,
true.
But I'm just saying, or try to walk the dog
right.
This morning. I went out, I had to take Willow on the back porch, and I was like, look, it is go time. This is as light of rain as you're going to get for the next 2 hours. Get out there and do your business. So
get it done.
So we were trying to get all of our business done this morning, whether it be coffee or getting to work, or my wife had a doctor's appointment she had to fight through all this rain to get to, and that's kind of. But most of the excitement for today is wrapped up, and we'll look for some isolated scattered showers perhaps a little bit later on.
Yes, we are looking at some video now, rain in the Houston area, and we were just looking at some there. My 5-year-old still goes to school, and
right.
She had her own umbrella. Of course, I didn't take mine, and I'm running, and she's like just walking along with her Ninja Turtle umbrella.
I like it.
Heading to school there. We also have some video over in San Antonio. I understand that there was some flooding there. Take a look at this. This is from the Texas Department of Transportation. Looks like Leon Creek there, and you can see heavy flooding, those roadways impassable, although that truck does seem to try to want to get through there, but pretty bad in parts of the state. But luckily here in Houston, we've been good so far. So we're not out of the woods quite yet. I know you said that everything's kind of died down for today possibly, but tomorrow again.
Yeah, definitely keeping rain in the forecast for tomorrow. And that widespread downpours, that's what we're done with for today. It'll be isolated to scattered if anything pops up.
All right, JD, thank you. All right, the other story that we're following for you, and that's about a Jeep Wrangler. So this was crazy video that we had. It was off the Metro Rail trucks. They had to remove this Jeep Wrangler with a crane. That's right. The vehicle had been stuck on the tracks for hours this morning, and it caused major issues for the Red Line. That's what runs from Fannin South to the NRG Stadium. No word on how this Jeep actually got stuck in the first place, but look at that. Midair, you see this Jeep Wrangler just trying to be out of the way, and they had to use that crane. Thankfully, the headache is over for commuters, and no one was hurt. Well, Netflix has actually released the first trailer for its upcoming documentary. It's called Trainwreck: The Astros Tragedy. And it takes a look at that tragedy that happened back in 2021, the festival hosted by Houston rapper Travis Scott, and the aftermath. 10 people died, hundreds more were injured when the crowd pushed toward the stage. This is during Scott's performance at NRG Park. Now, the trailer reveals exclusive interviews with survivors, paramedics, the festival staff, and that film debuts on June 10th. Well, we do continue our effort to shine a light on the dozens of missing people who have disappeared from the greater Houston area. We've been doing this for years, and one family wants to make sure that their loved one is not forgotten. Our Denise Middleton reports they recently held a vigil to honor their memory.
4, 3, 2, 1. We love you, family. We miss you.
It's been 8 years of heartache for the family of Pamela Buckner, who wants to make sure her name and story aren't forgotten.
Lord, right now, in the name of Jesus, we ask you to look over this family right now.
As they gather for a lantern lighting vigil on the anniversary of the day she went missing, her cousin and uncle reflect on her memory as they struggle to find answers.
Very soft-spoken. Just a very positive, sweet person.
She would never harm nobody. So for somebody to harm her, that's I'd do anything to her. Wouldn't make any sense.
Pamela was reported missing on May 21st, 2017. At the time, she was 20 years old, living in an apartment with her boyfriend who was away on Army orders. According to reports, Pam was allegedly physically assaulted by her boyfriend's family members while she was alone in the apartment. A concerned neighbor heard the disturbance and called police. But when they got there, a man identified as one of the boyfriend's family members told them she wasn't there.
And since then, there's been no information about where she could have went or what could have happened.
Her disappearance has created a void filled with uncertainty and fear.
Well, the scariest part is to find out if they something other than just missing. And we all know what that end is. So you never want to get that news.
Despite years of pleading, they say there's still no updates and very little communication.
Yeah, we need more answers from law enforcement. We don't know where they are in the case, so they won't give out any information.
But as their frustration continues to grow, the family remains wrapped in prayers and memories, hoping someone will come forward.
Just keep us in your prayers because this fight is not over. We will not stop until we bring her home. Wherever you're looking at this from, we will never, never give up on finding her.
All right, and that is from The Missing, which we air regularly on our network. Now, we're sitting down with the family of Ashley Long, and you might not remember her, but she's a local real estate agent who was gunned down on a city street in Dallas, and this happened on April 5th. Well, the alleged shooter is charged with murder and actually currently out on bond. So Fox 26's Jillian Hartman spoke with Ashley's mother and brother about their loss and also push for bond reform.
Well, we're in Richmond, Texas, where Ashley Long grew up. We sat down with her mother and brother. They say Ashley loved life, lived it to the fullest, never met a stranger, and found her passion in real estate. The mom tells me the heartbreaking moment when she learned her daughter was murdered and how the family is fighting for justice.
We were on our way to Dallas, thinking we're going to the hospital to see her, and get a call maybe 30 minutes in that she didn't make it.
How'd you react hearing that news?
Just was kind of in shock. It was just the longest 4-hour drive, not knowing you're going to get to see your baby.
How did you feel when you heard that the alleged shooter was out on bond?
It's just unbelievable. You expect for somebody that is on video and it's obvious that they're guilty of shooting your loved one, to see that they're back on the street and able to go home and enjoy their family is frustrating. We went through the bond hearing and they showed the video of the shooting, and so we were within feet of the shooter and his family. And we saw zero remorse out of their side. And the question that I would have for him and his family is, how would you feel if this was your loved one that was out minding their own business and, following the law and not doing anything to hurt anybody to get gunned down in the city street?
What would you like to see happen in this case moving forward?
I would like to see a swift trial and justice. See him be put back behind bars where he belongs and spend the rest of his days there.
Nothing will ever bring her back, but no family should have to go through this.
Now, Ashley's family says they've talked to Texas lawmakers to help push legislation to revoke bond from violent criminals. They hope Ashley's story brings awareness to this issue. They also tell me Ashley's birthday is next week, and she would have turned 29. In Richmond, I'm Jillian Hartman for Fox 26 News.
Now we want to update you. Police have arrested a woman wanted in connection with the death of a teenager who was kayaking over in Grapevine, which is right outside of Dallas. It was the Grapevine Lake Sunday evening. Here's more from a news conference a little bit earlier today.
On the evening of May 25th, Texas Game Wardens, Grapevine Police Department, and Grapevine Fire Department responded to a call regarding a boating collision that had occurred on Grapevine Lake, in which a personal watercraft struck 18-year-old kayaker Ava Moore. The personal watercraft, which had 2 females on board, was being driven at a high rate of speed near the shoreline of Oak Grove Park when the incident occurred. The woman left the immediate area following the collision and returned the personal watercraft to Oak Grove Park. The passenger remained on shore with the witnesses as the Grapevine Fire Department began life-saving measures on Miss Moore. The driver, 21-year-old Carolyn Alejandra Gonzalez from Venezuela, fled the scene in a vehicle with 21-year-old Michael Cogeo Borroso. While leaving the area, the vehicle collided with 2 other vehicles. The investigation into the automotive hit and run will be led by the Grapevine Police Department. Ms. Moore was transported to the local hospital where she was pronounced deceased. Ms. Gonzalez and Mr. Pedroso were arrested in Dallas on May 27th. Ms. Gonzalez was booked at the Grapevine Police Department on manslaughter charges, which is a second-degree felony. Mr. Pedroso was charged with collision involving a damage to a vehicle, which is a Class B misdemeanor, and hindering apprehension, which is a Class A misdemeanor.
All right, well, let's talk about Austin and the legislative session. Only 5 more days until it wraps up. A lot of things happening this session. Let's go to Fox 26 political reporter and also host of What's Your Point, Greg Grugan. So, Greg, give us an assessment of what the session was like.
Rashi, elections have consequences. And in Texas, where Republicans dominate, that means they have all the power in Austin, and boy, did they wield it this session. They bulldoze Democrats. I'm going to go to my cheat sheet. Okay, they push through school choice, criminal bond reform, property tax relief, particularly for seniors, Life of the Mother Act, cleaning up the problems with the abortion ban. And then on the value side, trans restrictions, 10 commandments in schools, K through 12, DEI ban, all of that flew through. And that's just to mention a few. And now they're in a position in these last 5 days where they're actually defending bills they've already passed, like the big ban on THC products over the counter. Today, Dan Patrick had a big press conference just to try to change the media narrative. Take a listen, watch what happens.
Why have I called you here today? Because I don't think the media has taken this issue seriously. I don't think the story has been told. You talk about jobs being lost. You talk about a big industry selling all of this to kids. This bag sells for $40. Big profit items. By the way, I'd be happy to share it with you, but I don't know what's in it because no one knows what's in it. It can poison you, not just children, but adults. This is all sold. Even the senators haven't seen all of this. It's all sold for kids, designed for kids and adults. This one, this little bag of jellies, mango peach, $90 for a bag. Send you sky high. We have no idea. Some of these things are so mislabeled, and the police will talk about that in a moment. No one knows what's in any of this. This is why we passed Senate Bill 3. This is why the House passed Senate Bill 3, to ban these products. Sour bells, slices. How about gummy worms? Gummy worms. This is what parents, you need to tell this story so that parents understand the 8,000 shops have been put in Texas in the last 3 years, many of them without permits, selling this to their kids to destroy their kids. And why would drug dealers seize Texas? Because they found a loophole in the hemp bill, which Charles Perry will talk about. And they want to hook our generation of young people today for a lifetime of drugs. And you need to sell that story.
So what was your assessment on this? I mean, the bill is already passed, like you said, but having a press conference afterwards to kind of highlight it.
Yeah, the big question here is it going to do more harm than good? You've got 8,000 outlets. That's a lot of jobs, a lot of revenue for the state. And then there's the issue of just pushing what is now a legal business, not well regulated, but still legal, pushing it onto the black market and giving the drug cartels basically a gift, handing them their business. So the market is still out there. The appetite for these THC products is still out there. And are we just pushing it out to the street corner to where it really isn't regulated over there and could potentially be laced with fentanyl? So, you know, there's a big argument going on here. The House initially wanted to re-regulate, to crack down on the bad actors, but that went by the wayside, and Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick got his way. It's a total ban starting September 1st. Now, I want to talk about the Democrats. You know, what do you do if you're a Democrat in the minority? How do you fight this Republican majority that's bulldozing things through? Well, you can walk out. They've tried that in the past. It didn't work. So basically, they're going on defense, trying to derail and delay as many Republican initiatives as possible so the clock runs out. My colleague, Rudy Koski, spoke with House Democratic Caucus Chair Gene Wu. This is what he had to say.
This is the process, and eventually what ultimately kills bills here is not us, it's time. And the people who are in charge here, the Republicans who are in charge of this place, have run this place with an iron fist. They had the option of, putting big bills that will generate a lot of arguments, a lot of fights, or do bills that everyone agrees on. Well, they choose to do the controversial stuff, and we don't have any control of that. We're fighting hard on some really tough bills. This is when they put the very, very worst things on the calendar. So Democrats are going to fight like hell to protect Texans.
Still 5 more days left. Do you feel that there's going to be any changes in those days?
You know, like Gene Wu just talked about, the clock is their best friend on the Democratic side. But even if it ended today, it's been a massive bulldoze job by the Republicans. They'll declare victory, and they should.
Is there anything that surprised you this session?
I think the THC ban surprised me. I was not surprised that Governor Greg Abbott, Lieutenant Governor Patrick were able to push through school choice. And I was, glad to see that the Democrats could read polls and decided to allow criminal bond reform to take place, or at least let Texans decide whether judges should have more power to keep the most dangerous predators in jail pending trial.
All right, Greg Rugen, thank you so much for that assessment on the legislative session. Still 5 more days left, so we'll have you back to talk about it a little bit more.
Look forward to it.
Okay, so there are some big changes that are taking place. If you travel Southwest Airlines, you're going to have to pay for those bags. We'll talk about it coming up. Southwest Airlines, starting today, you are going to have to pay for those bags, folks. I was just talking to someone. They're like, well, isn't it that the only reason why you travel Southwest Airlines? Well, also the points and, you know, all the great things about Southwest. But they've been free bags for more than 50 years. And Fox's Danielle Miller gets reaction from a major Southwest hub, not here in Houston, but actually the airport over in Phoenix.
Definitely not good news when there is more money involved, and it's the passengers that have to pay for those bags. So we spoke with so many passengers here at Phoenix Sky Harbor today, many opinions, and a lot of people just saying, you know, this really is an end of an era. This bag policy is really what set Southwest apart from other airlines. So potentially they may be looking at other airlines in the future. So Southwest having their 2 bag for free policy for more than 50 years, and it was the last major U.S. airline to not charge for luggage. So starting today, customers who book a flight on Southwest will have to pay $35 for a first check bag, $45 for the second. Travelers in Business Select or with a high loyalty membership will still be able to avoid those fees. Many passengers say the change will leave them more open to using other airlines. We spoke with some of those passengers here this morning. Take a listen.
It's horrible, horrible. Can't wait till they make us pay for our tickets too, or our seats.
So I think it's a trend. I mean, everybody's going to start raising prices and trying to gouge us everywhere they can. We're thinking about another airline.
The new policy only applies for flights booked after today. So if you booked your flight on Southwest before today, you are still able to check those 2 bags for free here. So Southwest says this change will improve its profits as well as will help them cut costs. The airline also going to be switching their seat policy as we have reported in the past here. And that is starting in 2026. We'll send it back to you guys.
All right, so we'll all just kind of suffer through it together. Now, Southwest has also put some expiration dates on those Rapid Reward credits and has new policy when it comes to portable chargers. So, with so many changes, it can be pretty confusing for travelers this summer. But fear not, we have from AAA, Doug Shoup, to tell us about the best way to travel. I know I was telling you about some of my travel plans, and we've kind of had to maneuver them a little bit. So what are you hearing from people just with the conditions that we're in now?
Anytime there's a major change, you know, an airline policy change, it can lead to some confusion. But it's important to remember that travel is always evolving, whether it's updating policies or a change in expectations and what comes with that ticket. It's really important that we prepare ourselves for that trip by knowing what the very latest policies are. And you can do that by, you know, checking with the airline, not only before you purchase that ticket, but also actually before you leave to head to the airport so that you don't have any surprises when you get there when it comes to weight limits or restrictions on your baggage. Knowing all of that stuff ahead of time before you purchase the ticket and before you go to the airport can help alleviate some of the confusion that happens when these changes in the travel industry happen.
Definitely, and I'd also say just from personal experience, if you're going through those third-party vendors, there's different types of restrictions and stipulations when it comes to booking your air and whatever travel, like rental or whatever. So you definitely want to look at the fine print there.
You'd always want to read the fine print, and that goes with everything. You know, your ticketing process, you'll read the fine print in the airline tickets. But what you also want to consider is working with a reputable travel advisor. You know, like the ones at AAA Texas, they're there to help people understand what the latest changes are. And what we found is during the pandemic, 1/3 of our members who were surveyed said that they would now use a travel advisor because, as you remember, during COVID, there were so many changes happening. You know, places that were restricted and then they were opening up. It was just constantly confusing. And so now, more and more of the traveling public see a value in working with a travel advisor who can not only, you know, bundle your package and save you money, be your advocate while you're away should they need to make changes on the fly, but they can also help inform you about what you really need to know before you purchase that ticket and before you head to the airport.
It's about working smarter, not harder.
Absolutely.
I went through the line one time and I had my belt out shoes and they're like, actually, you didn't have
you
to
don't have to do that. Well, and even that can change. You know, sometimes you have to take your laptop out. Sometimes you don't. It depends on the equipment that's at that TSA screening. So you really want to just kind of work with that travel advisor and just be aware of all of the changes, not only within your airline, but also even with airports. You know, those change a lot too, whether it comes to ride sharing pickup locations. Just keep in mind, the travel industry will change frequently, and to kind of help alleviate the stress of that, we need to be savvy travelers. We know it can be frustrating to have a change, but if we're just educated about it, it can help us be less stressed when we get to the airport if we know what to expect.
Definitely. All right. Well, thank you for coming in and telling us
Anytime.
about those tips. All right. Well, time to answer some of your legal questions. And for that, we turn to Fox 26 legal analyst Chris Tritico, who joined our Fox 26 morning anchor, DeLon Dillard.
Begin with this question from Joanna, who writes, my son informed me that last year he has not paid taxes in nearly 10 years. He has gone through a hard time with divorce and illness, but I was shocked. I took his info to a national tax preparation office for assistance. They recommended starting with the last 3 years. I went over everything with the tax preparer who was filing for him. I went back after our final meeting to pick up the copy. She informed me she thought I was going to file the returns, and she had shredded the documents. Someone from another location called the next day when they found out what happened. The tax advisor said she would call me back, but didn't. I've gotten several calls from the company, but still no resolution. I don't know what to do or where to go.
All right, Joanna. So first, if your son generally gets refunds, the IRS doesn't really get that upset about things like this because you don't owe them any money, they owe you money. And so if he's getting refunds, this is not going to be that hard to sort out. Now, if he owes money, that's where the problems start. What you need to, in my view, since all the documents were shredded, you can rebuild this. It's going to take some time. You really need to get a CPA involved here that can help with this, and quit going to these national companies that just take documents and plug them into computers and done with it. They owe you at the end of the day here, and we'll get back to that. Go to a CPA who can help sort this out, help get to the companies that you got the documentation from and rebuild this. And you have to go back, you owe those 10 years of returns. So it's going to be a long process to get all this done. But let a CPA help you with this, so if the IRS comes swooping in, you got something done. With the national company, you can file suit if you have damages at the end of the day. That's why you need to get the other part done first. Good luck.
Yeah, hopefully they get help with that, because that is a mess.
Right.
Next question here. This is from Tiffany, who writes, I need help. My Facebook was hacked by scammers almost 2 years ago. They are harassing friends, co-workers, family. We have all reported this to Facebook. I have made a police report and emailed Facebook many times. Nothing has happened. They changed my password one morning at 3 a.m. Facebook sent me a message I saw the next day, and then they changed the phone number and email so I couldn't recover the page. I have had 2 accounts virtually opened and closed with the bank. Is there anything I can do? I can't get a human on Facebook to help.
Tiffany, that happens a lot with companies like Facebook and these other social media. You cannot talk to a human being, and that's very frustrating. So here's what I want you to do is I want you to find a computer tech person here that you can talk with that can help you with this. Don't go to the big box stores that have these services that help you. Find a person who does this for a living, who can talk with you, go over your situation, go into your computer and go to your Facebook account and get in there and dig around and figure this out. And then you can start getting some relief from this. Facebook is probably not going to help you. They're too big and they don't have human beings anymore. It's all AI stuff that none of us people understand. So get somebody who does understand this stuff that can work with you and fix this problem. You've done the right things. You've made the police report and you've done all that. So now get somebody who can sit with you and fix it. Good luck.
All right, final question is from Richard here, who says, my cell phone fell out of my pocket in an Uber. I realized it 2 hours later and called immediately to report it. I was told I'd have to pay $45 to get it back. Is that legal or is it theft?
Richard, I think it's legal, and here's why. Because they're charging you, in my view, they're charging you for a trip because you're taking this driver and forcing him to come to you to get your phone back, and that's another trip. And that's what I believe Uber's doing. If you'd called the driver and said, where are you? I'm going to come meet you and get my phone, it probably wouldn't have cost you anything. Good luck.
Yeah, that's common. Lyft, Uber, all of them do that.
Right.
Yeah. All right, Chris, we always appreciate you.
You bet.
And if you always have any questions, comments, anything like that, you can send it to us. Just hop on our website, fox26houston.com. You can find Chris's segments right there under the morning news tab. And as always, for specific information and advice, contact an attorney of your choice.
All right, well, we're always looking out for things to do for the kiddos, fun family events. Well, how about Moody Gardens? We're going to talk about it coming up. All right, welcome back. We got a little sports news for you this afternoon. Astros pitcher Ronel Blanco will undergo right elbow surgery next week. We are told it will sideline him for the remainder of the season. Blanco is expected to be back in 2026. The Astros are playing the Athletics this afternoon at Daikin Park. What is the unofficial start of summer underway? We've been talking about it since Memorial Day, and more of you will be taking off to pools and beaches. Well, the CDC does have some warnings for you. Drownings are up in recent years, and the #1 cause of death for 1 to 4-year-olds. So this is very important. Here's Fox Medical Team's Dina Centofanti with some life-saving awareness.
Once the weather warms up, when the pools are open and kids are looking to swim, there has to be a plan to keep them safe around water, whether it's a swimming pool or a lake.
Drowning prevention has multiple layers to it. And I think it's smart for families to sit down and have a family meeting to discuss what are the layers that we're going to put into place.
Pediatrician Jen Wasino with Cleveland Clinic Children says first step is figuring out who's going to watch the kids at the pool, since a drowning can happen in seconds. It needs to be somebody who's not drinking alcohol, on their phone, or distracted in any way. Think about this. According to the CDC, there are an average of 11 drowning deaths every day in the U.S. That's why it's also a good idea to have somebody nearby who knows CPR and keep those flotation devices handy in case you need them. If you have a pool at your house, the doctor says, make sure it's secure.
It's not enough to have just a fence around your pool. Have one that is climb proof, that's the right height, that has locking gates.
So it adds up to 5 layers of safety. You've got barriers and alarms. That's to keep curious kids away from the water unsupervised. You've got supervision. You might really want a lanyard that you sort of hand to the adult who's in charge of watching the kids. And that way everybody knows who it is. Also, keep an eye on those adults who aren't great swimmers. There's water competency. That means take swimming lessons, life jackets. That's important for around open water. And emergency preparation, knowing how to perform CPR and having a phone ready to call 911 if you need it. That's HealthWorks. I'm Dina Santafanti.
Good to have those life-saving tips there because you're trying to keep the kids busy. Beaches, the pool, maybe going over to Moody Gardens over in Galveston. Well, we actually have Jerry Hamachek here from Moody Gardens to tell us all about what to expect. I know I've been there during, the holiday times. You have the amazing lights, and now what can people expect?
Well, summer vacation is just kicking off. So our Palm Beach area has opened for the season, and we open daily starting this Saturday. And if you haven't been to Palm Beach before, it's a really great experience. You go in, there's a white sand beach. We actually shipped white sand in on a barge.
Oh, wow.
And it's we've got a lazy river, tower slides, wave pool, and some splash pad areas, and our lifeguards have been going through all their training, so we're ready for summer. And we've got some special deals too. So if you look on Wednesdays, we have $15 admission for Palm Beach all day long, and so you can enjoy that lazy river and everything else that Palm Beach has to offer. And then we'll also be kicking off our Beats on the Beach event that happens every Saturday night through the summer. And we have fireworks and live music, so it's just kind of a fun hangout on a Saturday night on the island. And so you can kind of just either float along the lazy river, find your place in one of the beach chairs, or you can get up and dance. Everybody's doing a little bit of everything out there at Palm Beach on the Beats on the Beach nights.
That's awesome. And so I'm sure it gets pretty crowded there.
It gets crowded, yeah. So trick to that is find a weekday, and like I mentioned, Wednesday is a great day to do it, so you have extra savings. But we also have another deal. If you get a value pass, Palm Beach is included with that, and we're offering 25% off our value pass all summer long. So that gets you admission to all the Moody Gardens attractions. So you can visit the Aquarium Pyramid, Rainforest Pyramid, 3D Theater, the 4D Theater, the Audience Recognition Theater, the Discovery Museum, where we have the Art of Music exhibit going on right now, and the zip line, the ropes course. So you can do it all and save 25% on that all summer long, and then 25% off on hotel best available rate as well. So if you want to make it a little getaway, come and stay the night and just enjoy all day long, and stay the night, maybe a couple days, just to really enjoy the island.
Well, I've seen the hotels there. They're very nice too, and really just, you don't need a car. You just walk on over to Moody Gardens. So it's really nice.
We've got a great hotel, and we're very family geared, but we're also a great place if you're looking for date night. Up on our 9th floor, we've got our fine dining restaurant, Shern's. So you've got a great view at Shern's Lounge. If you go up to Shern's Lounge on the 9th floor, at sunset, the sunset's right behind the pyramids, so they designed it that way. So enjoy a little cocktail, have a great evening, go enjoy a great dinner over at Shern's, and then we've got the spa and the Moody Gardens golf course next door. So aside from all the attractions, we've got a lot of activities that are going on there at the hotel, and we also have our kids crew at the hotel. So if you're staying the night at the hotel and you want to just kind of take a look at our website, we've got different activities going on the weekends, but we'll make sure we keep the kids busy so you can enjoy time together. If mom and dad need a little break, you can do that too. We even have kids camps, so if you want the kids to go over, enjoy a summer camp for the day, mom and dad can relax a little bit and have a little break, and maybe poolside and enjoy all of that. So there's just a lot of different ways you can enjoy Moody Gardens depending on where your interests lie.
And is this restaurant new?
No, it's been there on the 9th floor of the hotel, so that's called Shern's, but we also have a cafe in the park that's located on the 1st floor of the hotel, and then we also have our garden restaurant that's over in the visitor center.
Oh, wow.
So you can
good
enjoy
food all around.
Yeah, casual or fine dining. We even have great options like Blossoms, which is the little place where you can grab some great snacks like some pizza or a burger over by the hotel pool.
Nice
area.
snacks, pizza or burger.
Right.
Or food, yes,
yeah.
That's awesome.
So, you know, if you're just looking for something smaller to eat, that's a great place to hang out and grab something simple to eat and enjoy it poolside.
Awesome.
So lots of options
Well,
for
thank you
dining,
so
too.
much for coming here and
Sure.
telling us all about Moody Gardens. Definitely recommend you going out there and having a great time, whether it's a staycation or just a day trip over there. Well, now we're going to talk about the kids, keeping them entertained. But, you know, the adults need a place to hang out, too. So Fox 26's Ruben Dominguez is at Social Junkie on Washington Avenue.
All right, you guys, if you're looking for a new spot to get together with friends and have a great time, Social Junkie should be on your list. We're right off of Washington near downtown. Dynasty joins us this morning.
Hi.
All right, we're going to get into the food and then into some cocktails. Start us off. What do we have on the end?
Okay, so these are our sliders, one of my favorite things to eat. I eat sliders almost every day.
Okay.
We have spring rolls. They come with shrimp, very good as well. These, the star of the show, the junk nachos. You can even get them with either with chicken or steak. They come with pico de gallo, sour cream, cheese, the whole nine.
You know what I love about that? That's
What you
a
love?
big plate of nachos.
It is.
You know, I hate going to a place and they bring out a little rinky-dink, you know, like, what am I
Yeah.
supposed to do with this?
Right. I mean,
especially if you got like 4 hungry friends.
I'm not sharing.
No, you're not sharing. See, I
But
know that. That's what I like about you.
I like to eat.
Okay, let's do it. Let's keep going.
We have the loaded fries, which are basically the nachos, but
Awesome
they have
fries.
bacon in their fries.
Yes, ma'am. I love
We have
that.
wings. We have like 4 or 5 different flavors of wings, and then we also have cheese logs, which I am obsessed with cheese logs. I probably shouldn't be.
If you think about it, it's the perfect food. It's cheese and it's fried.
And it's fried cheese.
I mean, what else?
What else do you need?
Of course, unless you're lactose intolerant, but that's fine. Never mind. Moving on.
Right.
All right, so here we go.
So we have a Jimi Hendrix.
Ooh.
It has gin and
Yeah.
then a little bit of Prosecco.
I love that.
It's a little bubbly.
I love that.
Me too.
And I'm a big Jimi Hendrix fan, so I might have to order. Can I get this in a manly glass?
Whatever you need,
okay,
baby.
I got you.
We can do
'cause, I
that.
mean, that seems a little.
Whatever you need.
Never mind. Let's keep going. All right, what do we got here?
Right here, we have the Cadillac Joe, which is basically our spin on a margarita. So there's obviously tequila and then a little bit of Grand Marnier. Very
Love
good.
it. That's gotta be
It's
popular.
manly.
That is manly.
Okay, manly
Yeah.
enough for you. It's
Yeah,
a very
I'll take
popular
that.
drink.
Yeah, I love that.
Very
All right,
popular.
so we're letting folks know when you pull into the to the parking lot, guys. There's a big sign that says "Guess who's back," and that's because
We're back.
the new Social Junkie, bigger, better than ever.
Exactly.
Y'all made some improvements.
We have a bigger bar. We have an upstairs, downstairs patio. We have a VIP deck that's overlooking the patio. We have 2 very large screens, one upstairs, one downstairs, and then we have a VIP lounge as well. Perfect place to watch the games.
I love it.
Come for happy hour.
That's right.
Everything is under $10.
On the happy hour menu?
Absolutely.
I love that. Okay, and guys, just to let you know, nighttime, if you're up on the patio, gorgeous view of downtown.
Beautiful view.
So great for your Instagrammable moments. You know the drill. It's
Date
all, It's
night.
all about date night. It's all about those vibes. All right, Dynasty, thank you so much.
Thank you.
It's great meeting you.
It's great
guys,
meeting you as well.
Social Junkie, put it on your list. Ruben Dominguez, Fox 26 News.
All right, Ruben, thank you. President Trump, that is, says that he is going to be pardoning reality TV stars Todd and Julie Chrisley, a federal judge in Atlanta. So the convicted couple, along with their accountant, in 2022, they were charged with conspiring to defraud banks and the IRS out of tens of millions of dollars. Julie was sentenced to 7 years in prison, Todd to 12. Since then, their daughters have conducted a public campaign to have their convictions thrown out, claiming her parents were targeted by Democratic prosecutors. All right, well, still ahead. Don't go anywhere because we're bringing you the backstage experience of The Long Way Home up next.
And for the last 20 years, my best friend Charlie Boorman and I have travelled to some of the farthest corners of the world. Yeah.
And we're doing the journey on vintage, temperamental 50-year-old bikes.
I just love them to death. Shouldn't say that. Just leave me here, guys. Enjoy the rest of the trip.
You and Charlie, it's great to see you both again.
Good to see you.
Congratulations on coming back.
Thank you very much.
Thanks for having us.
Charlie, why did you guys decide to go with the older bikes this time? I'm not even a biker, and I'm like, what are they doing?
I know. Well, again, as usual, for the last 20 years, we've never really thought anything through. So when we did Long Way Up, we had all these electric motorcycles, and we were on the cutting edge of technology, and that alone had issues and problems, and it didn't allow us to have as much freedom as we were normally with. And so when we were up in Bolivia and the Atacama Desert, riding through horrible sand and juddering away, which was some of our funnest moments, we started talking about being closer to home and traveling in Scandinavia and in different places and on old bikes. And so it kind of started from there.
Also, I think when we were, like Charlie says, the cutting edge, and you're like, okay, well, what do we do now? Where do we go next? That seemed to be the most obvious thing was to go the other direction, go back and ride old. But also, with these old bikes, they're mechanical. They're totally fixable. And as we experienced on the Long Way Up,
they break down.
when there was a breakdown with this brand new electric bike, it was catastrophic. That's it. We can't fix it. So it led us to meet some great people by the fragility of the old bikes, I suppose.
Yeah. And the breakdowns, that is part of the journey. That's where you're maybe the most frustrating at the time, because your baby, the very bike that's taking you around the world is broken, and will she be able to be fixed, and can we carry on? Is part of the adventure.
We didn't talk about this last time, but I have to get this in.
Go on.
Do you guys ever look at yourselves and say, what did we get ourselves into?
We're pretty bloody minded. We've always, even when we got to the Road of Bones in Russia, where there were no bridges at all washed away, and there was no real apparent way ahead, we never ever thought that we wouldn't do it. We always knew we would, And so, no, we don't really think that way, no.
All right, we are in the Weather Center. Check out the radar. This is from this afternoon, as you can see. Look at the timing right there. Now I'm going to get to the meteorologist, John Dawson, who is here with some of our interns. Say hi. Hi.
So exciting. Day 2 for the interns here at Fox 26, summer interns. So we're excited to have those folks in the building, and even going to have one that's partially a weather intern. So that's exciting. We haven't had a weather intern in a while, so excited to have Corinne in the building. She's going to be able to kind of help us a little bit, and definitely going to see her on Forecasting with Friends, I think, pretty
very
soon.
nice.
For sure, going to be able to do that. And of course, the other folks that are in the building as well, learning and getting to sort of spend some time in some different areas. But yeah, we are looking at such a different afternoon than what this morning was like, especially if you were in the southwest portion of our viewing area: Fort Bend County, Brazoria County, Wharton County. What counties am I leaving out? Those are the areas that I think saw.
Brazos.
But Brazos, that's not southwest. But
yeah, there you go, Rashi. That's a county.
Yeah, but it's a county. That's a good answer. But Galveston County as well, Harris County definitely got in on all the action with some of that heavier rain. And I was just loading up a graphic that kind of shows. Let me see if I can find it, because I was getting some stuff loaded for later, and now I'm not going to be able to find it quickly. That I'm trying to show it, but let's see if I can find it. We got all. Do
you want to say hi, interns?
Oh, this is the graphic. Wow, they multiplied.
We had 25.
We had 3, and now we have 7.
Yes.
Every time we turn the camera over, there's more of them. That's fantastic. All right, so here's the last 12 hours, and it really gives you a look at all that rain that has come blasting through southeast Texas. And I'm not afraid to admit that this was about 5 hours ahead of schedule. You know, we actually forecasted this pretty well, except for the timing of it was all off. This storms that came blue. So I guess maybe you wouldn't say it was forecasted well, right?
Sorry, I didn't mean
is
to
that
laugh
what it's
at you.
off?
The timing was off.
No, I admit, no, totally.
Okay.
We don't always nail it down to the exact second,
Yeah.
and that's what we saw. There was nothing severe with these storms. There was no flash flooding. Now, if you were driving in this, I know that you were probably thinking, this is a little bit more serious than what we're looking for. But yes, it was definitely a rough drive this morning if you were out in those heavy downpours. But the other of us was able to sit and kind of watch it rain and able to enjoy it a little bit more.
All right, tell us what you're doing here.
All right,
Have you
well,
done it?
I'm making up the
Okay,
forecast,
yes, you're
getting the
making it
numbers
up.
ready, making up my numbers. I haven't decided exactly what to do with Wednesday yet, you
Okay.
can see. But
You have nice handwriting, by
well,
the way.
This is actually a little bit of a rush job, so
Oh,
thank you for your
so
comments.
this
It's
mediocre,
usually,
you're saying.
Usually, yeah, I'm not very proud of this blog.
Yeah,
I
that's
could
all right.
I could do that one better. I could definitely write that one better. But yeah, that's kind of what we're looking at. You'll notice from these numbers, or I could pop up the actual graphic and say that we are looking for the 7-day forecast to be a little drier when we get into the weekend.
There it is.
I think Saturday is going to be our best day for outdoor activities, but we're back in the 90s, so be
Nice.
ready for the heat to return as well, for sure.
All right, well, thank you so much for watching Houston Live and Local. We'll see you next time. Bye.
All right, here we go. 3, 2. All right, good afternoon. Welcome to Houston Live and Local. I'm Anthony Antoine. We're going to spend some time with you guys here, bringing you up to speed on everything that's happening from 3 to 3:30. So thank you so much for joining me. All right, we got a lot to talk about here today. We are standing by for a press conference from the DEA. Our Leslie Delaspore is there because there's a growing concern that they got synthetic drugs out there on the street. So we're going to follow up with Leslie for more details on that. Also, if your child needs a summer job, then we'll take a look at the top ones that you guys can be looking at and the ones you might want to stay away from. Also, attacked by ducks. Now, you know, if you've seen some ducks around your way, you know it could be an issue. We're going to bring that story to you as well, because apparently they're terrorizing the community. So we'll get to that. Now, before we went to the previous commercial break, we heard from meteorologist John Dawson. He was giving us an update here on what we can expect here for the rest of the week weather-wise, but we continue to get some more soaking rain here earlier today, with some spots picking up more than 2 inches. And you know, the grounds have already been wet here, so the chance of flooding is there. But over in San Antonio, if we head west of the city here, several roads are closed in the San Antonio area because of heavy rain and storms that we experienced overnight. Look at this screenshot right here from the Texas Department of Transportation. That large truck got stuck in the middle of the rushing water along Highway 90. It's not going anywhere anytime soon. The San Antonio Fire Department says at least 8 water rescues were made all across the area here this morning. So please be weather aware. We're going to get to meteorologist John Dawson later on in our half hour to give you guys another update, because you want to pay attention on what's happening, right? All right, now let's get to some more news here. We have an FBI analyst in Houston who is now charged with possession of child pornography. Really big charge here. Investigators say they found multiple videos while searching Brian Roche's home in Cyprus. Those videos allegedly depicted child sexual assault. Roche now faces 7 felony charges, including 2. Okay, let's go to Leslie Delaspore. Okay, Roche now faces 7 felony charges, including 2 federal charges. He was taken to the Harris County Jail. No word yet on a possible bond. All right, the Houston division of the DEA has a strong message about the threat of nitazene. Let's go to Leslie Delaspore for more details on that.
There's a dangerous drug on the streets that's reached Houston, nitazene. What can you tell us about it?
Nitazene is a synthetic opioid similar to fentanyl. The difference between nitazenes and fentanyl is nitazene is up to 25 times more potent generally than fentanyl. We started encountering nitazenes in Houston in 2022. And in the last year, we've become more and more concerned because a number of seizures have gone up. And between November and February of this year, we had a 57% increase in overdoses from nitazene in Houston. Nitazene is a typical opioid which suppresses your breathing, it suppresses your blood pressure, and that's generally what causes an overdose. Is your body is just so depressed that it can't breathe anymore, and that's what we're seeing across the board.
How are people getting their hands on it? Not the purchasers, but I guess the sellers. Where is this coming from?
Nitazenes is a very complex synthetic opioid. Its synthesis route is very hard to make. It's very hard to make. You need laboratory experience. We're seeing nitazenes that are made in China. They're purchased online, and then they're smuggled into the United States in parcels. From there, we see local drug manufacturers and drug gangs that are taking nitazenes and fentanyl, and they're pressing it into tablets that look like a prescription drug to reach a greater number of people. With the synthetic opioids, fentanyl and now nitazene, it really is across the spectrum. We've seen overdoses. Now people have died from the use of nitazenes from the age of 17 to 59. So there's really, if you're buying a pill from someone that you don't know, or you're using a pill from somewhere that you don't know where it came from, it could have nitazene in it, and it's extremely dangerous. If you're not getting the substance from a pharmacy, a trusted and licensed doctor is prescribing it, you have no idea what you're taking or what you're buying. For kids, it's just increasingly, it's so hazardous and so potent to take anything that's not prescribed by a doctor.
Yeah, serious stuff here happening in our community. Leslie will have more on that in our 5 and 6 o'clock newscast, so stay tuned for that. All right, the Diddy trial, you know it is now, week 2? Lots of information, bombshell testimony day in and day out. And today was much of the same, some more emotional testimony here in that sex trafficking trial. But this time we heard from a former assistant who took the stand. Let's head out to Fox's Connor Hansen for more details on that. Connor.
On week 3 of testimony, Capricorn Clark, one of Sean Diddy Combs' employees at Bad Boy Records, took the stand. Like other witnesses, Clark spoke about setting up the infamous freak-offs for Combs, purchasing supplies like baby oil and stocking the rap mogul with drugs. The former aide testified that Combs threatened to kill her the first night she worked for him. She said she also witnessed abuse against his former girlfriend, Cassie Ventura. But legal experts say the government has yet to prove their charges.
It's federal sex trafficking, federal racketeering, and
We haven't seen evidence of that up to this point. It's early into the trial, but right now we've seen evidence of a bad domestic abuser, but it's not a domestic violence case.
Prosecutors are now working to connect the dots. On the stand, Clark said Combs kidnapped her at gunpoint and told her he was going to kill Kid Cudi before breaking into the rapper's house. Last week, Cudi testified that he suspected Diddy was behind both the break-in and a Molotov cocktail being thrown into his Porsche after Combs found out Cudi was dating Ventura. Combs denied being involved.
What's interesting about the Molotov cocktail allegation is it's akin to what we would see from the mafia.
During her emotional testimony, Clark also recounted being sent to an empty Manhattan building for 5 days, repeatedly given a lie detector test, and threatened after some of Combs' jewelry went missing. In New York, Connor Hansen, Fox News.
All right, Connor, thanks a lot, my man. Much appreciated. Well, it is down to the wire here locally as we head to Austin because the legislative session is getting ready to wrap up. So either you get things done, you got to toss it and push it down the road to get some legislation passed the next cycle. But right now, Rudy Koski over at our sister station in Austin is going to give us an update here on the recent actions taking place on the House floor.
Texas House members had 21 pages of bills and resolutions to work through before a critical Tuesday midnight deadline. Among the items on the chopping block, SB 646, a school loan program for school counselors.
Representative Davis, I understand that there are some in this body who are just simply opposed to repayment of loans no matter what. It has nothing to do with your bill. Is that what you're hearing as well?
I understand that, yes.
The loan bill was initially voted down, but a few minutes later was saved by a recount. During the Tuesday debates, Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick was briefly on the House floor talking with Republicans. He later spoke to me about the final grind that was underway.
This will be the most productive session. Will there always be some bill that didn't make it? Of course, but school choice alone would be a session. The public financing for public education and how we're redoing that and focusing on teachers and students really for the first time. That would be a session bill. All of these big issues alone would be a session if you just passed one of them, and you're passing all of them.
But the lieutenant governor also had a few losses and split decisions. Several bail reform bills did pass, but bans for undocumented immigrants and violent repeat offenders were blocked by Democrats.
You made a reference to the word illegal alien. Is that in your caption, sir?
So you said lines 1, 2, and 3. It would be lines 2, 3, and 4. At least the bill I'm looking at, Senate Bill 552. I think we're
okay.
Semantics, but it talks about certain persons. Illegal aliens is then defined in the bill.
Mr. Martinez-Fisher, for what purpose?
Raise a point order pursuant to Rule 8, Section 1.
Gene Wu, the chairman of the House Democratic Caucus, spoke to me about their strategy for hot-button issues.
We're fighting hard on some really tough bills. This is when they put the very, very worst things on the calendar. So Democrats are going to fight like hell to protect Texans.
In an effort to save time and to move up non-controversial legislation, Republicans postponed votes on several bills that could be targets for long debates. Representative Wu made no apologies for forcing that move.
This is the process, and eventually what ultimately kills bills here is not us, it's time. And the people who are in charge here, the Republicans who are in charge of this place, have run this place with an iron fist. They had the option of putting big bills that will generate a lot of arguments, a lot of fights, or do bills that everyone agrees on. Well, they choose to do the controversial stuff, and we don't have any control of that.
Some political hardball was also played within the ranks of the GOP, a decision that Patrick downplayed.
You know, there's been less arm twisting this session than ever, better communication than ever. The relationship between the Speaker's office and the Lieutenant Governor's office is light years where it's been the last 4 years where there was no communication, quite frankly. The relationship between the senators and the House members, Republican and Democrats, better than it's ever been.
How do you feel about the U.S. economy? Because the latest report shows you're feeling pretty good. Consumer confidence is how we feel about the economy, and that has a big impact on the economy. So after 5 months of consumer confidence getting lower and lower, it's now up to a 4-year high. Why? Economists and analysts say that President Trump's trade talks with China and rolling back tariffs from 145% down to 30% have a lot of Americans super hopeful that tariffs won't be so high. though the president has said that he is considering more tariffs on things like semiconductors, prescription medicines, and tariffs specific to companies like Apple and Samsung. Hope that helps. I'm Lena, your news anchor bestie. You can follow me if you care about this stuff.
All right, Lena, and that's a great segue because Lena just mentioned the tariffs. Well, now we know that a huge business here in the U.S. is now going to be increasing prices because of those tariffs. So I'm talking about Walmart. They're going to be raising prices here globally on those Chinese imported goods, and it's going to be passed along to the consumer. Dana Foyle is joining us now from our sister station in Atlanta, Georgia, kind of breaking down the ins and outs of what's happening here with Walmart and those tariffs. All right, we got the wrong clip on that one, but stay tuned. Hopefully we can turn that around for you. If not, you can always head to fox26houston.com to get those details. All right, summer is here. You know, Memorial Day weekend, the unofficial start of summer. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the weekend. But if you have a teenager or a child that can legally work here in these states, you want to have them have some fun here and actually get a job. Here is April Maggio, the regional practice director at Core Staff and Swipe Jobs. Hopefully your child can get a nice job here this summer and save some money.
Are there opportunities for the young ones, so to speak?
There are lots of opportunities. You know, we're seeing, personally, our company, we don't do a lot of summer jobs, but there are a lot of companies that are hiring for internships, seasonal jobs, summer jobs.
Right. When we talk about seasonal jobs, what do you mean? I'm picturing mall jobs or something where a lot of people are doing the summer retail.
Yeah, I mean, you talk about a lot of the summer, the water parks, right? Anything that involves summertime activities.
I know
think
local
is what's going
schools
on.
are desperate for lifeguards, so they're even letting 15-year-olds do it now.
Yes.
So they're saying, you know what, we need the workers, so the opportunities are there.
Yes, yes.
What is the best way to find jobs like that?
So, you know, really the internet and the job boards are your best bet. I mean, you want to Google internships, you want to Google seasonal jobs, summer jobs, anything on the job boards or just the internet. Because again, companies that are looking for people on their own may not be posting their jobs on the job boards. So that's going to cover everything.
There are a few school districts still in this week. A lot of them got out last week, but for the ones that are still open, just sometimes you can get some ideas there as well?
Absolutely, and you know, you should definitely check with them because you know, a lot of times the schools have to be open. There's got to be somebody there for questions, for walk-ins, for whatever the case may be. So of course they're going to want to use a lot of the summer students to help out with that. So that's a great resource.
I don't know if a lot of students are like my kids, but they have a very clear picture of what they want to do and what they don't want to do.
Yes.
But how important is it to maybe keep an open mind, because something might be a lot different than you think. You might like something you never knew.
That's right, and you have to keep a very open mind because you know there's going to be a lot of students looking. So there may not be a lot of things to choose from when you have that many. So keep an open mind. Everything you do is a job. Everything you do, you're going to learn a skill, right? And it may not be a skill that you thought that would take you somewhere, but it's all connections. It's all networking as well.
Well, and if it doesn't turn out well, it'll teach you what you don't want to do. Might make you work harder in school, right? So that's always good too. I know it depends obviously on the job, but any ideas at all about what they should hope to get paid this summer?
You know, pay rates are still good because I mean, again, they're not going to pay the low amount just to get people in there. They want quality people. So, you know, they've already raised the pay rates due to market and you know, low unemployment. So don't take something too low, right? I mean, for sure. But I mean, I still think they should be in the $15, $16, $18, $20 pay range, depending on what they're doing.
Sure.
And the good thing about that is if your son or daughter gets a job here this summer, they save that money, head to college, they got a couple dollars in their pocket. That's good stuff. All right, we're going to take a quick commercial break, but we are following some breaking news. I'm just getting the details now. I'll tell you about it in about 2 minutes or so. All right, you guys, welcome back to Houston Live and Local. This is some breaking news we are following right now. This is my first time seeing the scene, so let's kind of digest what we're looking at together here. We just got word that you can see HPD and investigators are looking for a body that may be inside of Brays Bayou. We have one camera there on the scene. Not really much to process as of right now. You can see about 3 police cars right there as the camera pans down Brays Bayou. You don't really see any dive teams or anything there in the water. You just see the 3 stationary HPD cars on the other side of the bank there. And then as we zoom in, you can see about, there we go, we've got at least 2 members of the Houston Fire Department. We can't really differentiate the gentleman in that green outfit there. It could be a member of the SWAT team or the dive team. And then you see their HPD as well. There could also be the Coast Guard as well. So I'm just kind of processing this as well. More HPD officers right there. So this is our first time seeing this, and it's okay, it's right there next to UT Health Houston. So we will continue to follow this breaking news. Again, we just got word that investigators are looking potentially for a person's body that may be in Brays Bayou, and that's the first time we're seeing that scene there together. We can't see any dive teams, but we can see HPD as well as the Houston Fire Department and potentially even the Coast Guard there kind of processing as this is the early stages of their investigation. Of course, we'll give you guys some more details on this once it becomes available. All right, next we have a story about dentistry. So let's take that one, a special grad rather, now working in dentistry. Let's take a listen to that.
This is a great story. Christina's great.
Professor Maureen Brown talking about the woman next to her, Christina Flores.
Christina had a lot going for her when she applied to the program. She was definitely a top candidate.
That was 5 years ago. Sunday, she graduates at 58 years old, the oldest to obtain a Bachelor of Science in Dental Hygiene degree at the Texas A&M College of Dentistry.
Yes, it was a challenge, learning how to study again. And I found out I love school. I didn't remember how much I liked school. But it was a challenge, you know, sitting down and studying. And to be honest, I mean, all these kids retain stuff a lot faster than I do.
Speaking of kids, Flores has 3. A daughter who attended her mother's pinning ceremony, even pinning her Bachelor of Science in Dental Hygiene pin, and 2 sons who graduated from A&M, and both are attorneys, following her sons into Aggieland.
I knew I wanted to come here. Even if it was farther away from home, I knew I wanted to come here. I wanted to be an Aggie also.
Flores left her native Laredo, moving to North Texas for the A&M College of Dentistry. But she first started college way back in 1987.
This was before I had kids and before I had gotten married. And life happens, I didn't get to finish it, but I always knew I wanted to do that.
But after you've been through life and had some life experiences and made it through some other difficulties.
And the fact that it wasn't just, you know, spur of the moment, I knew I wanted to finish it. I mean, it was always in the back of my mind. So I knew I was eventually going to go back. And I didn't know I was going to do this, but yeah, it turned out to be a great choice.
Last month, her children with her as she got her Aggie ring, a symbol of what she's accomplished and she hopes a sign to others of what they can accomplish.
There's no deadline on goals. You can definitely do it at whatever age. At 55, at 53, I didn't know I was going to be here, and look at me now. And when I started, I remember saying, I'm going to be 58 by the time I graduate. Well, it's here. It's already here. So no, there's no deadline to what you can do.
I love that story. All right, this next one, listen, I haven't seen the video either, so we're going to kind of just watch this together. But if you've seen ducks in your community, you know sometimes they can get a little rowdy. And the community says in Florida, they're being absolutely terrorized by the ducks. So let's take a look for ourselves.
This neighborhood has a tenant causing chaos, and he doesn't even live there.
He's waiting for me to come in.
The Muscovy duck is terrorizing people living along a street in Cape Coral, even trying to chase off reporters trying to do their job.
I moved here in 98.
So have these ducks always been here?
Occasionally, yeah, but now it's more frequent.
More frequent and more vicious. James Sepulveda says the duck bit him and his neighbors, even sending one of them to the hospital.
I sit on my porch around 7 to 7:30 at this time of the year to catch a sunset, you know, some sun. And I had my eyes closed. all of a sudden, I felt a jab on my hand and it was bleeding. Are you going to walk the other way?
And Richard Guy down the street has a similar story.
I stood up and I made some noises thinking I went, go away, Doc, you know. Next thing I know, its wings come out, you know, and like it was going to attack me.
Unfortunately, there's not much these neighbors can do. Florida Fish and Wildlife Conservation Commission says Muscovy ducks are protected under the Migratory Bird Treaty Act, but the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service has issued a control order allowing control of Muscovy ducks in their nests and eggs in areas outside of their natural range, which is actually Texas. FWC says the ducks must be humanely killed or donated to educational or scientific institutes. But for James, he says being on a tight budget with a fixed income paying for a trapper is just not in the cards.
And they're actually committing injury to individuals they should get rid of.
These ducks aren't just a Cape Coral problem. You can find them in Central Florida neighborhoods. We've reported on them in places like Oviedo and Winter Park.
So they do harass other animals, other ducks, things like that.
They'll chase you away from the own door of your business, home, or around the edges of your house.
Best thing to do to keep them away, don't feed them. And if they are on your property, the FWC says you can deter them by spraying a water hose at them. Randy Hildreth, Fox News.
All right, welcome back to Houston Live and Local. Look at this. Look at these bright young stars. This is some, I should say, of our interns. We got 14 this summer and a great group of kids, and they're just kind of shadowing us. You guys, how you feel being on TV right now?
Feeling pretty good, you know.
Kind of surreal, huh?
Surreal?
Yeah, we get some airtime on day 2.
You guys love it back here? How you guys feeling? Yeah. No, I was just telling them that weather is one of the biggest drivers to folks on the website because like a day like today, it's not a Fox 26 weather alert day, but at the same time, we have a lot of rain that's been falling the last 2 days or so, and there's potential we can get some more. So let's walk over to the weather department, the man, the myth, the legend.
I've been waiting over here.
My right-hand man, my boy.
We had a great Zoom interview that we just did. That's going to be on Forecasting with Friends. Josh Morgerman is his name. He is a professional hurricane chaser. Doesn't chase the tornadoes, only hurricanes, and he does it internationally, so it's cyclones as well. So really excited to be able to show you those interviews on Forecasting with Friends. We'll do one this week, and then we'll do one next week. We recorded 2 of them, and so that was something that we just took care of, and then we are going to be talking about the forecast as well. Y'all good there, Anthony? Just making sure.
Minor malfunction back here with the camera, but it's all good. It's all good. It's
just
all
making
good.
sure. Corinne is the unofficial weather intern.
Hey.
So you had some interns that you were highlighting. I thought we better show off.
That's right.
Ours a little bit. She's going to get. Has a broadcast journalism major. And then a minor in atmospheric sciences. So we're going to spend some time over with us, but then do the other
be honest. He's horrible, isn't he?
Not at all.
No. You told her. You paid her to say that. You paid her.
We got
He
the
knows what he's
compensation.
talking about.
All right.
We have some good compensation.
What's up with the weather, man?
Hey,
It's
no,
70.
I want to know, tell me about your morning in the rain. Because not everybody saw rain, but I have a feeling you did.
I did see rain, and I was sleeping. I slept in today. I
Okay.
cracked the window, and I slept in.
All right. And wasn't it yesterday we were talking about your pups?
Yeah, they get scared.
Don't like the thunder and lightning.
Thunder and lightning.
Did we have thunder and lightning?
Actually, we did not.
Woke them up?
No,
Okay.
we did
That was
not.
good.
More so, today was a little bit more windy. You heard a little bit more wind.
Yeah.
And some more rain, but it wasn't bad, though.
At my house with Willow, it was one of those deals where it was just storming and raining, and then there was a little bit of a break. And I was like, come on, girl, it's time to take care of some
potty.
business.
No, okay, that's true. He did not potty until we got a little break in the action. So.
Yeah, we had to kind of rush out, and I'm like, go.
Now or never.
Kind of looking at me and like, I don't really want to get off the porch. And I was like, you got to go. That's for sure.
All right, you guys. Thank you so much for joining us, Houston Live and Local. Shout out to all our interns. We love and appreciate them. You'll see more of them here throughout the summer. We'll see you guys.